Thank you so much for organizing this event and for all the work that you've done. And I want to thank all who are here today. I've been repeatedly inspired by all your stories, so thank you for all your sharings and all that you have shared. So my name is Mary Ann. You can call me Ann. I'm half Malaysian, half Filipino, which is why the plight of migrants is very close to my heart, because my dad is also a migrant. And my husband and I were both survivors of sexual abuse as children. And when I was younger, I told somebody in church about this, and in addition to spiritual support, she also told me that maybe one day, with all your experience, you would be able to help someone else. And so here I am today. So I would like to start with the context of where I come from. Okay. So Malaysia is in Southeast Asia, and so human trafficking has long been a problem there. And as countries in Southeast Asia strive to develop themselves and build their economies, demand for labor has increased rapidly. And this, coupled with poverty, low wages, conflict, and lack of jobs in some countries, have pushed many out of their countries in search of a better life. In Southeast Asia, trafficking is predominantly for forced labor. More than 22 million victims of human trafficking pass through Southeast Asia. So as you can see here, this is the route of people who are being trafficked from Southeast Asia. And you will see that there's quite a gem where I come from, which is where Cambodia is also situated. So Malaysia is a major receiving country in Southeast Asia. It is also a destination and, to a lesser extent, a source and transit country for men, women, and children subjected to forced labor or sex trafficking. So recently, in the 2014 Trafficking in Persons report, Malaysia received an automatic downgrade to Tier 3, which is the worst, and 1 being the best, after being in a Tier 2 watch list for 4 consecutive years. So Malaysia was granted 2 consecutive waivers during 2012 and 2013 from a required downgrade to Tier 3. So a majority of the trafficking victims are among the estimated 2 million documented and 2 million or more undocumented migrant workers in Malaysia. So because Malaysia did not sign any conventions or protocols relating to the status of refugees, refugees in Malaysia lack any formal status or the ability to obtain work permits, so they can't work, they can't feed themselves under the Malaysian law, making them vulnerable to trafficking. UNHCR estimates 80,000 Filipino Muslims without legal status, which includes 10,000 children who resides in my state, the state of Sabah. There are a small number of Malaysian citizens who have been trafficked internally as well as externally for commercial sexual exploitation. So as you can see here, these are the tier ranking for the Trafficking in Persons report for 2014. So Thailand and Malaysia is in Tier 3. So Sabah, as you can see there in a yellow map, that is Sabah, where I come from. It's Malaysia is separated to West Malaysia and East Malaysia, so I come from East Malaysia. So there are 13 states in Malaysia, and my state, Sabah, is the poorest state. Sabah shares a border with Philippines, which is north of Sabah, and Indonesia, which you see there, Kalimantan. Because of this, Sabah has fluid cultural, social, economic boundaries with both countries, and is the gateway for Filipino and Indonesian migrants to migrate out of their countries. So according to the Statistics Department of Malaysia, this is the route of how they migrate to Sabah. So according to the Statistics Department of Malaysia, in 2010, the population in Sabah, about 3 million, in which 72.25% are citizens, while 27.75% are non-citizens. So this figure does not include the large number of those who are undocumented. In relation to trafficking, Sabah is mostly a receiving and transit case, and to a lesser extent, a source state for trafficked victims. And as a source state, most of those who are victims are those from rural villages. To the neighboring countries, Malaysia poses as an attractive country because of its strong economic growth, low unemployment rate, and high demand for cheap and unskilled labor. For Sabah, industries in which human trafficking are mostly found are in commercial sex industries and plantation sectors. Other than that, there are also a significant number of cases in domestic work and service sectors. If you can see the picture here, this is how most of those who are undocumented live in. This is the condition. This is a squatter area. I'm missing a slide. Okay. Okay, so I work in Pusat Kebajikan Good Shepherd. In English, it's Good Shepherd Welfare Center. It's a not-for-profit NGO founded by the Good Shepherd Sisters since 1960. And the Good Shepherd Sisters is a worldwide congregation of women religious present in 73 countries in 6 continents. The congregation is an NGO with special consultative status with the ECOSOC of United Nations. So the focus, I'm missing a few slides, I'm sorry. It's okay. So the focus of PKG Good Shepherd is to make visible the mercy and forgiving love of God, especially those who are marginalized and broken, especially women, girls, and their families, restoring in them their worth and dignity. In Malaysia, Good Shepherd has extensive grassroots services, both remedial and preventive, and reaching out to women and girls in pregnancy and any forms of crisis, women and their children experiencing domestic violence, children and youth who have limited access to educational opportunities, and more recently work with refugees and migrants. The programs are coordinated and carried out by a team of personnel comprising Good Shepherd Sisters and partners who are committed and share the same vision, mission, and core values of the organization. So my first recommendation is awareness. So the YouthPREPCentre is a youth service of Good Shepherd, and the center started in 2010, and it aims to provide youth with a point of reference, particularly those who are leaving home for the first time. The Youth Prepping program conducted by my center has been running since 2005 and is a program to prepare youths to face and better manage the cultural and social realities experienced in society when they migrate from rural to urban locations in search of higher education and employment. YPC works with youth commissions from all 3 dioceses in Sabah to run the youth prepping program for youths, especially those who are going to graduate from secondary school. We conduct 3 programs, youth prepping programs a year. We have also started to conduct a facilitators training since 2013 for youth leaders from all dioceses in Sabah to be able to conduct and facilitate the program themselves in order for this program to reach more people. So YPC also conducts the Keeping Me Safe program from school since 2010. The program aims to bring awareness to teenagers on their rights and dignity and on how to protect themselves from sexual abuse and exploitation. YPC is also involved in conducting awareness programs for women at the government shelter for trafficked women since 2013. So in Malaysia, all the shelters are run by the government because NGOs are not allowed to run shelters. We used to for a little while, but since the law came, only government gazetted shelters are allowed to shelter trafficked women. And PKJS is the only, Good Shepherd is the only NGO with access to the government shelter in Sabah, which is a miracle because Malaysia is a majority Muslim country, and just the name Good Shepherd would usually scare them. Yeah, but we managed to get into the shelter. But at the same time, we still have to be careful because they are very cautious with NGOs. So we can't directly say anything that they will find offensive. Yeah, so we have to be really careful when working with the government. So staff and volunteers reach out to trafficked women 3 times a week through counseling, faith sharing, social awareness, cooking, and handicraft sessions. And a majority of the trafficked women in the shelter are in their early 20s. In our interactions with the trafficked women, we provide emotional and spiritual support to uphold their dignity as human persons. We do case follow-up with officers in the shelter, and we also, especially like their rights just to make a phone call, right to see a doctor when they are sick. So these women are not allowed to go in and out of the shelter. The shelter looks like a prison. It's covered with barbed wires. They're not allowed to have any mirrors, anything, any sharp objects. When we have cooking classes, we have to pre-cook. So it's very limited, and a lot of them are very, they don't want to be there. They want to go out, they want to go back. So it's really the situation in the shelter. Before we went in, there was no programs at all. The only thing they do is sleep, eat, stay at the wall, stay outside the window. They can't go out. So since we came in, we have been offering these programs for them, and it has helped them tremendously. And we also journey with residents and give them confidence and motivation to prepare for their court hearings. My second recommendation is to address vulnerability. So many children of migrants do not have documents which make them vulnerable to trafficking. So these children, they can't go to school, and so they are stuck in the cycle of poverty. And so to reduce their vulnerability, we help them to get their registration process by working with the Indonesian embassy. So the birth registration documents enable the migrant children to have an Indonesian identity, thus ending their statelessness. So with that, they will be able to return to Indonesia, providing them with opportunities for a better future as documented persons. Other than that, PKGS also reach out to migrant communities in plantations through basic literacy programs for the stateless children and youths. And YPC also conducts the Keeping Me Safe program for migrant youths. My third recommendation is partnership, and to engage with local authorities, such as the police, shelter officers, embassies, immigration officers, to discuss, share resources and work together for awareness programs, and also to come up with solutions that would best serve those who are being trafficked. Sometimes we find out that the women do not want to cooperate with the government authorities. Then we found out that it was due to the lack of understanding of what they're going through. And so, which might be due to the lack of explanation, proper explanation, and also because of language barriers. So our work as NGO is to facilitate better understanding between the government authorities and trafficked women, so that both parties can collaborate to address the issue. Engagement with the church, local church, is also important because of the high population of Catholics in Sabah and the widespread reach and networks of church, especially in rural villages. This also includes the Filipino and Indonesian community in cities as well as in the plantation. On an ongoing basis, we also collaborate with other NGOs in Sabah to work with campaigns in order to build a bigger voice among to address issues of violence against women and children. So as a conclusion, Sabah will continue to develop as a state economy, and migration into the state will not cease anytime soon. Because of this, all stakeholders should work together and take the responsibility to find ways to mitigate, if not eradicate, human trafficking as best as we can. Even though there is still a long way to go, I believe that every little action we take for the cause today will be a stepping stone towards the eventual eradication of modern-day slavery. Echoing the vision of Good Shepherd, one person is of more value than the whole world, that even if what we do today affects only one survivor, I'm sure it will mean a lot to that person. Thank you.